We're going to demonstrate how to use Scenario Manager in Excel. And if you open the left file, files, one of them, T3, which is What If Data Workbook. And once you open it up, you're going to see a spreadsheet. And one of the tab is Scenario Define, which kind of explain what the Scenario Manager tool is in Excel. And we're going to use a real example to explain the Scenario Managers. And in this example, it's a simple construction project which you can hire one or more technician, and this is the number of regular hours that each of the technician will work to finish the project, and this is the overtime hour that each of the technician would potentially work to complete the project. We assume that whether you have 1, 2, or 3 technicians, they're going to have the same regular hour and the same overtime hours. And during the regular hour, you pay $50 an hour. If it's overtime, you pay $75 an hour. And so we can calculate easily the regular cost, which will be the number of technician times the regular hour and times the standard rate. And overtime charge would be the number of technician times the overtime hours and times the overtime rate. And the total hour will be basically the number of technician times regular hours plus the overtime hours add up together. And the total cost will be the overtime regular cost and overtime cost plus actually the contractor surcharge. In this case, the contractor surcharge will be actually $200, and for each extra technician there will be a $200 surcharge. That's actually a pretty small amount. So let's look at how we may use the Scenario Manager. And if you go to the Data tab, you're going to find out What If Analysis. Under What If Analysis, there is a Scenario Manager. Okay. And initially this could be just blank. Let me just clean it up. I will add a new scenario. I'll just say this is the original scenario. You need to define changing cells. It could be multiple cells. In this case, I may change the number of technician, the regular hour worked by each of the technician, and the overtime hour. So I need actually all 3 of them. So I would choose all 3 of them together as a changing cell, assuming the cost won't change, the surcharge won't change in our analysis. So I'm going to say that is okay. So this is our initial data set. I call it the original scenario, and so that sounds good. I'm going to just add another scenario. So this is scenario number 2. Let me just call it S2 for simplicity. Same changing cells. For the consistency of our analysis, we'll keep the changing cell the same, which is number of technician, regular hours, and overtime hours. In this case, we may say, okay, if it's 2 people, probably you're not going to ask them to work that many hours. It could be they will be working for 150 hours. The overtime could be actually 15. Let's just keep it 15. So we're going to add that. Then we have scenario 3. Same changing cells. So now if we have 3 of them working 100 hours, And let's assume that there's no overtime. We add another scenario. We can add the, let's say, another scenario, S4. Let's get back to just one technician, and then maybe 250 hours. Then we have more overtime, maybe 50 hours. Okay. If we're done, we can just cancel it. So we got 4 scenario. If you want, you can edit an existing scenario and changing its value. Okay. And if a scenario that you define is not what you wanted, you can delete it. You can add additional scenario. So once it's done, oh, by the way, you can also say choose scenario 4 and say show. So the system will apply the 4th scenario and show you what is going to happen to some of the other cells. They will change the changing cells value, and other cells which are impacted by those changing cells will be changed accordingly. We can also generate summary of each of the scenario. Okay, and we're going to just say, oh, in this case, Excel is pretty smart. They figured out that they highlighted 3 cells which are impacted by those changing cells. For instance, regular cost, overtime cost, and total cost. That sounds reasonable. If you don't need, for instance, overtime cost, you can just deselect it. Okay, you can just select, use the control key, say I only want this 2. Then that is fine. If you want all 3 of them, you can just press the control key and click whatever additional cell that you want to analyze as a so-called result cell, and let the system create a scenario summary, which will be, in this case, a new worksheet. Okay, you may find out that the changing cells and the result cell been listed here using the absolute cell reference, row and column, but it's not very meaningful. So the best way to do it, certainly you can add it here, like say this is the number of technician, etc. Number of technician. Okay. However, there's another way to do it, which is you get rid of this, delete this scenario summary for now, and you come here and basically name those cells, those changing cell and result cell. So you will say number of technicians. This is regular hour. You just say regular hours and overtime hour. And this is regular cost. And then overtime cost. Okay, I think we have specified the total cost, so we're pretty safe. So come back to data, go to what if analysis, bring up the scenario manager, which has been stored all those 4 scenarios we defined previously. So we can just click summary to regenerate the scenario summary. In this case, the scenario summary, now this has much more meaningful row heading. And if, like in your assignment 3, you would ask like which scenario has the least total cost. So we can look at the total cost row and find out scenario number 3 has the least total cost. And then you will ask to actually circle the scenario which has the least cost. I will use this rounded rectangle. and I would shape fill, say no filling, choose no fill, and then I would actually choose, let's say, this guy. Point to this, hit F, highlight this, and just say this is the cheapest case or scenario. Let's see. Try to enter text to it. Edit text. Okay. This is the cheapest case. So we can just find out what is the cheapest in terms of total cost in terms of the fourth scenario here. Highlight it with a rounded rectangle and use this another over here. Use the callout shape to indicate this is the cheapest case. Okay, you are going to be asked to do something similar to this in your scenario summary for assignment 3. And then this is considered done. Okay, so the example will be here. Okay, and then this is a newly generated worksheet which has the scenario summary. And Scenario Manager is much more powerful than Goal Seeking. Goal Seeking only allows you to manipulate one changing cell and one result cell. And you would define, actually in this case, you define the result cell. And then the Goal Seeking would try to figure out let me just move this a little bit, what the changing cell's value is supposed to be. And if you play the Goal Seeking again, then you're going to lose the original setup. Scenario Manager can help you to remember different set of value for the changing cell and then its impact to a certain result cell, and it can list it nicely for you to take a closer look. So it's a much generic and powerful tool here. This concludes our tutorial on Scenario Manager.